Would you say Dominate is worthless if you're not willing to blow a bunch of freebie points at generation into your generation?
Absolutely not. Generation's great, but two things to remember, especially if you're playing Tremere. One is that generation means very little to Tremere. Generally speaking, once you've gotten a certain degree of mastery in Thom, you can make your generation whatever you want it to be. But that's not really the point. That's only in thinking in terms of character against character. Dominate is by far the best way to take action during the day. And I'm not just talking about possession. Most of the time, Kindred, as soon as the sun comes up, their influence stops. They can't make phone calls. They can't go to the bank. They can't do all of the little chores that we take for granted. The bank's closed long before the suns go down. So, Dominate is quite possibly, it's kind of a tie between Presence and Dominate, depending on how hardcore you want to be, is how you act during the day and behind the scenes. People with Dominate are not limited. If you ever need something done during the day and you don't want to risk one of your own retainers to do it, any poor sap that ever met your eyes will do your bidding. Or even, hell, it's great for getting out of things. I mean, Dominate 1. People tend to think that the first dot of a discipline is generally useless. Nothing can be further from the truth, especially with Dominate. Because Dominate can be used subtly. One of the most interesting things I've ever seen with the first dot of Dominate was someone else's influence was going to be giving a speech at a state dinner. And it was very important that this speech go down well because someone was pushing their bureaucracy, I think it was. And in order to do that, they had to give this guy the opportunity to look good in front of everybody. And a certain Tremere walked up to this guy. He was being introduced right then. He was due in front of the podium at any moment. And the Tremere used a single Dominate command. Urinate. And this guy peed his pants and then had to go upstairs and deliver a speech to the, I think that was the Rotarian Society, reeking of his own urine. And that was... It's been a long time, if ever, since an influence action failed that hard. All because one Tremere was present and he used the right word at the right time.
Granted, they're not Nosferatu, but do you have any good costuming tips for the Tremere?
I can't stress this enough. Play to your concept when it comes to costuming. Oh my goodness. There are so many sports coats. So many power suits, so many pantsuits, red ties, oh god, black and red, please, show a little originality. Like that longshoreman thing. Hell, there's such a thing as a working man's Tremere. But, by all means, play to your concept. There was a Tremere in the game a little while ago that I was very fond of because he came to game in khakis. He came to game in khaki shorts and sandals and a t-shirt with a fishing vest on it because a lot of pockets are important. He was playing an archaeologist, someone who was used to spending his time on dig sites. And it's just, it works. You have to play to the character itself. Don't play to the clan. Don't come to game in robes. Do not come to this game in robes. Do not come to this game carrying a magic wand. The Tremere, more than any other clan, are about adaptability. The modern knights are upon us. Realize it. Play. Now, the thing about the Tremere is that you can't get away from it. The Tremere are occultists. They just are. Even the ones that have nothing to do with thaumaturgy, by association to the rest of their clan, they're going to learn some things about how the shadow world really works. So play with that a little bit. Just because you're not an expert and occult scholar, hell, maybe that's why. Everyone knows that garlic and crosses don't necessarily work, right? Not necessarily. Having a middling occult rating, hell, wear a cross. Maybe you think it'll give you an edge. By all means, look at other occultism, branches of occultism. Red thread. Wear a red thread around your wrist with 7 knots in it. It's Red thread is anathema to the fair folk, the little people. Does it actually work on changing the dreaming? I don't know. I doubt it. But by all means, read occultism. Look at things other than hermetic occultism. Look at things other than hermetic occultism. There are many rich traditions out there, far older than Aleister Crowley. Oh my goodness. Look at natural science. That was all the rage, a couple hundred years ago.
Phlogiston and...
How about, oh God, yeah, a Tremere mad scientist. Phlogiston. Look at, if you want, you know who I think would have made a great Tremere? Nikola freaking Tesla. Nikola Tesla spent all of his time trying to bend the world around him to suit his imagination. I think he may have been embraced, but, here's hoping. One of these days someone will play that concept.
If my last character just got gacked, and I'm thinking about rolling up a new guy, and I'm thinking Tremere, what advice do you have for me?
The best thing that you can do to play a Tremere is going to have to be, if you're new to the game, either if you're new to the community or you're new to Vampire, then you really should start with a ghoul. That's pretty good advice for starting in any clan that you've never played in before. But the Tremere especially have a greater effect on each other than members of other clans do. So if you play as a ghoul, you will get a sense of the existing Tremere, which will be a big part of your life because it is all house and clan, and you are more loyal to them than you are to anyone else, in theory.
What's on any good Tremere's library checkout history?
The thing about required reading is that it's a lot like costuming, actually. You want to play to your concept. If you're playing an expert, if you're playing a linguistics major, you don't necessarily have to go out and learn a dozen languages, though if you're capable of that, rock it. But learn a little about syntax structure, learn about grammar, learn about how languages evolved. It doesn't have to be... It's like doing an accent, for example. You can play a character from Brooklyn that doesn't speak with the hard Brooklyn accent all the time. But if you stress a syllable every once in a while, you can give people the impression that you know a lot more than you do. Yes, the Tremere are a mystic clan. There's no way around that. But there are a lot of other mystics. There's a lot of brands of supernatural and the occult and mysticism that the World of Darkness doesn't cover in source books. We're in the Pacific Northwest. Read about some of that. You've got the Sasquatch, the Wendigo. You have... Hell, there are... Actually, look up the local haunted houses, of which Seattle has quite a few. Read about the Seattle Underground. Read about the unconventional. There are... Perfect example. There are so many variations on the vampire myth throughout the world. Look some of them up. There's those stereotypes, those cliches, those myths, those stories. They got to come from somewhere. And this, because of Seattle, is kind of a crossroads of immigration. There are a lot of cultures that come through here. Read up on Eastern mysticism. Look at Polynesian mysticism. But one of the best things that you can do, the Tremere at their core aren't sorcerers. The Tremere at their core are supervillains. That's how it works. The Tremere want to take over the world. There's no two ways about it. The Tremere are villains from Disney movies, for God's sake. Darth Vader was a total Tremere. You want to rule the world. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. Thaumaturgy lets you reprogram reality. That's great. But a lot of the things that you can accomplish with thaumaturgy, you can also accomplish with people and a good set of eyes. So, How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great little tome that everyone should read, even if you're not playing Vampire. There are a lot of tricks in there if you want to be a manipulative bastard, and so many of the Tremere are manipulative bastards by necessity.
All right, that wraps up this Clan Codex for Clan Tremere. I want to thank Isaac, and I will see you kids at game.